Hello, artists. Today we are going to be creating a piece of artwork known as an emulation. An emulation is a copy of a piece of artwork done by someone else. It means that you are making your own version of something that another artist has done because you admire or are interested in their work. By now, you've probably looked at the examples of Jen Aranyi's work that I have posted on Google Classroom, and that is awesome. Our project is going to be a landscape using watercolor, pencil, and Sharpie fine tip markers. To begin with, make sure you write your name somewhere on one side of your paper. Make sure it is easy to read and clearly written. After that, you are going to use your name side of your paper to practice drawing mountains. Aranyi likes to use a variation or change in size in her compositions and drawings. Try making different sized mountains and ridges of your peaks. When you come up with a design that you're happy with, you can flip your paper over and draw it on the other side. If you think of your square as something that can be divided in half, the halfway point would be our horizon line. We do not want any mountains to go below the horizon. So I am going to draw my mountain range. And then I'm going to stop. This would be the horizon line. No mountain or peak or valley goes below that line. Here's the cool part of this project. If you want, you can actually turn your paper the other way so you have more sky than mountains. I think I'm going to choose that option because I like the way this looks better than the way it looked when there was more mountain than sky. When we are using our watercolors, they are called watercolors for a very specific reason. I'll give you a minute to ooh and ah over this brand new set of really nice watercolors. Watercolors only work when you add water, so make sure that you have some water on hand. You will also need a finer brush. If you have a set of paints that might come with a brush, that brush would work awesome. It's nice and fine tipped. As I said, watercolors don't work without water. Dip your brush in the water and carefully trace around the outline of your mountains. It's okay if there's a little space between the water and the drawing. We will be using a marker to outline these, so feel free to leave a little bit of space for that tracing. Go over this line more than once on your watercolor paper. Make sure that water is nice and thick and wet on the page. After that, you can add water to the rest of that paper, only up to the top. This is going to remain nice and white and clean. The top is going to be what we use our watercolors to create a sky. Add water all the way up to the top, and don't be shy, add quite a bit. At this point, it might be helpful to put a piece of scrap paper or a newspaper underneath your painting. That will help protect the table and keep your paints on your paper. The wetter your paper is, the more your colors will move. So keep that in mind when you are planning your design. One of the requirements for the project is using colors that fit together in harmony. Blues and purples go together very nicely. So do reds, yellows, and oranges. They are in the warm and the cool color families, so they fit together very seamlessly. I am going to choose a warm color for my sky, as if it is a sunset or a sunrise. And I'm going to start at the top of my paper and use quite a bit of water in my brush. What you'll notice is as you travel down the paper, the water is picking up more of the pigment and it's getting lighter and lighter. If you want a more intense or bright color, make sure that you dip more into your watercolor to grab that pigment and move it into your composition. I'm going to use red and let it lighten up with that water. And then I think I'll use purple. Because red and purple together looks really cool. One thing to keep in mind while you are painting is if you want your color to be brighter, meaning more vibrant and with more color information, make sure you use more of the watercolor and less of the water. That will help to thin it out less and make the color more bright. I'm going to add a little more purple. And what I'm also going to do is instead of going side to side, I'm also going to do up and down strokes to create that look of the sky changing from light to dark. I might even add a little blue in there. Try not to use more than 3 colors because as we know, if we mix all those colors together, we are going to get mud. We want to keep it nice and bright. Oh yeah, I like that. One technique that you can use if you have this supply at home is you can actually sprinkle salt onto your artwork. I know you're probably thinking, I'm on a low salt diet. I can't do that. But you would be wrong because this is the coolest thing you can do with watercolors ever. The salt will move the colors of the watercolor off of the page into these cool snowflake and crackle patterns. So I'm going to grab my salt and I'll be right back. Nothing like good old kitchen salt. Sprinkle it wherever you want that effect to show up. And you're going to need to let it dry to see the full effect. I can try and pick it up and show you what it's starting to do. If you can see that salt is pushing the color away from itself and it's starting to spread out a little more. And I think it makes a cool effect that looks a lot like stars, which is pretty common in Jen Aranyi's work. And that's the first few steps of this project. Whatever you have accomplished at home, please make sure you send a picture of it to me so I can see what you did. And if you salt your work, make sure that you let it dry for a little bit longer so those salt crystals can do their thing. That's all for now. Bye-bye.